All right, everybody, we're going to go through and talk to you about what happens in a mix, what mixing actually takes. And I think there's so much misinformation on this, or I don't see much. I see like a video on, a guy showing you how to, EQ an 808. And for artists out there that want to do this professionally, I will say this. I don't know many artists that mix their own record if they do it professionally. I don't know one of them actually. And I'm not that's not a defeat, that's not a disrespect. I think there's a big stigma that just because you make music, you should be able to mix that music. There's a difference between producing and mixing. Where producing, you might have different ideas like effects and arrangement and adjustments and oh okay we could do this or this time delay or that's not really mixing, that's actually producing, and that's more in the editing stage and getting with the proper people to actually help you produce. Then the mix is to take that and get it to a place where it's finished, it's polished, it's there's no stone unturned. It's a really different process. I've been doing this process for 20 plus years. I started in 2001 learning the right way. I think I was 5 6 years before that working with music and 2 tracks and 4 tracks and computers and so you get better at this stuff. But I wanted to do this video because we had some challenging emails and I looked at it and I said, I think you gain wisdom when you start saying, well, how could I do that better? And one of the things that I learned is sometimes it's not explained. And some of the people that send me stuff to work on, I didn't explain it right or they don't know. You know what I mean? So I work with a lot of people and I don't think of things as coincidence. I don't look at something and say, that's coincidental. I had 2 jobs in the same week. The first one I was paid for, compensated for. The guy loved the mix, but that mix required a lot of stuff we shouldn't have had to do to get it there. And then it became a big, he was sort of afraid I wasn't going to finish the thing, if he paid me, and it was weird. And then the second guy, he sent me a song to master, which I asked him to send me something to mix. I sent it back to him and he says, I don't like your mix. And I went, I never mixed it. Like you did, like, so it sort of like threw me off guard. I went, dude, like this guy thought I was mixing this. And that's why in the email, to not just like take my own side, but I said, hey, send me the stems and I want to talk to you about what that means and how to get the most out of your music if you really want to do this on a professional level. And I started thinking about this. I'm like, you know what, dude, there's not a lot of information about this. Like, this is like you'll open up a how to mix on YouTube. There's like, oh, okay, this is what you do. You do this, you do that. But it never goes through the whole process. Today, this is going to be a little bit challenging. I'm going to go through one section of like 8 and talk to you and then fill out the video. But what a mixing engineer does is takes the quality of what you have, decides that okay, I see what he's doing, and let's make this professional. Let's use equipment that's going to help do that. And when I do this, I mean there's a desk in front of me with all kinds of Neve and awesome gear, and you'll hear it in this video. And take that and make this something that when you turn it up in your speakers, you don't have to worry about anything. The sub works, the bass works, the hi-hats are great, the vocals sound awesome, so it's like professional. It doesn't sound like this, it doesn't sound like that. So when you hear this, we'll get right into it, man. This was the drum session from an artist named Abraham James. He's a phenomenal artist, and he started to track at home. This is basic stuff he's tracking with, just a basic interface. If you're at home, be of good cheer. You can get really great stuff from your house. So that's what the business is today. So the mixing styles have changed. I'm going to take off my bus and we're going to just listen to the track, and I'm going to mute the track that I added, which is like a sub. This was his drum kit. So let me hit solo on all these. Oh, let's do it quicker. So if I solo all this would probably be the best way to do it. So now you're just going to hear the drum bus. Let me move this over a little. All right, so we're going to start with the drums. Now, I've heard this song, so as an engineer, what I want to do is really just dig into the song and see where he's going with it. This song has a really cool vibe to it. It's like a modern kind of like throwback but pop. It's got some pop sound to the drums, and you can notice it here. So check it out. So let me take this off as well. This is what I was given. All right, it's got a cool vibe. My job is not to judge people, it's to judge sound. Like, that's another thing, dude. If you're like getting into mixing or if you're an artist, dude, don't worry. I'm not here to judge. I'm not here to say, oh, dude, this sounded horrible or this sounded bad and I can't believe that. It's the person that doesn't want to have that conversation. So, what I noticed with this is it's small. I mean, it's cool. It's a cool vibe, cool rhythm, cool part. It's got cool. It's like a cool like Trent Reznor kind of thing. It's a four on the floor. It's super catchy. It should have a pop kind of vibe. But how do we take this one to the finish line? And what I'm doing when I mix is I'm just breaking this up. I'm usually doing this in context of everything else. So the way that we'll do it, we'll have a complete day of looking at each individual instrument and refining those instruments. So if there's anything that's wrong, we don't want to change the vibe of it. We just want to enhance the vibe of it. So when you turn it up in your stereo, it catches your attention. So let's show you how I did that. So the first thing I did was I added a sub band. So I duplicated the kick, and I wanted to add some sort of parallel that had a lot of bottom. So there's this plugin. I'll give you a little trick. It's called Bark of the Dog. It's a free plugin. So if you're watching this video, you just got yourself a free plugin. It's BOZ Digital Labs. Check it out. So what we did is we added a little kick. Here we go. A little kick. It's like it's bigger than the whole kit, but I got to show you the bus. So as you see my outputs here, I left that on its own. I didn't want to run that to the bus. I just wanted to leave that big. I wanted to have its own space, its own depth, and sort of make that the foundation of the bottom. If I don't use that, then the bass is just going to sound way too big for the track. So there's a method to this madness. So now right here, these highlighted tracks here, this is going to a bus. So this is going to a drum bus, which I got some secrets I'm going to put on there, and I can't tell you all of them, but I did some basic EQ here, got rid of some of this low 120 roundness because I'm getting the roundness from here. So I don't really need the roundness from here. I need the snap. I need the pop. So what we did here, I'll turn this off. I want energy, so check it out. Okay, so as I got there was a decision to be made on the clap. Right now it sounds a little hollow. It could use some more EQ. There's some more refining we're gonna do, but I actually added a second bus, which is a pair of Neve channels, and did some pretty cool EQ. So we'll turn it off. Okay, so you guys got to understand something. You might say, "Wow, that's too bright, Doug. It's got like a lot of brightness. It's a drastic change." But when we add that sub back in, this was really the foundation of the pop track we're shooting for. So there you go. Now this is the start of the mix. This isn't now what I hear in that, and that's why we say like how great, how long the mixing process can take quite some time. But it's a lot of the mixing process today is getting the stems to sound good and then mixing them. There's so much misinformation. I promise, like you'll see like a really professional engineer, and he's like mixing a track, and he's like, oh yeah, it took me 25 minutes. I got that done in 2 hours. It's like, dude, you had an engineer before you, like perfecting all the tracks. So they get these tracks and they're like gold. But on in the real world, like that has to be done by somebody. That could be done by you, like as an artist, but most artists, I don't really think that that's what they want to do or desire to do. There's things like editing, naming tracks, making sure there's no clicks and pops, doing that, and it will save us time. But then just getting the gear on that and refining and editing each stem or each track. Just think of stem as track. But then we're going to go through. So these still need mix. They still need process. But this was my main feel of that bus. So you have this once again. And then this, if we turn it all off. Same vibe. I'm not changing the artist a lot. I'm just bringing out the parts that are good. So this is just prepping the mix. So what I'll do, through the years I've done it, is if I'm going to make a drastic change, I won't print it. But then I'll go through and print that. That'll be done. And now I can start to mix the tracks. So we're really just still in the stage of prepping the song. The next thing, I'm just going to let you hear a vocal. I turned off all the plugins. This is also going to be ran through some hardware. But this was the vocal from this session. And this was done with a very affordable Scarlett interface with an SM7B. And he's a very creative dude, and I'm like, dude, we can get it there. We can get this to sound great. So this is what he has. He's got his own verb on there. He's got a little bit of, I would say, pushing the pre a little. You hear a little bit of it being hot, but it sort of like adds to the sound.
Is it over yet? 'Cause I can still remember the days before all of it. Yeah, back before we sold ourselves for convenience, exchanging our freedom for all the phony hope they sell.
Okay, awesome vocal. Now, what's so funny about it is it's muffled, okay? But it doesn't sound muffled to him if we take off the bus. If we take everything off before I mix it, it doesn't sound muffled.
Is it over yet? 'Cause I can still remember the days before.
Because all the muffle is blending together. That right there is one of the tricks that if you learn anything from this video, it's good because it's all got a muffle to it. So once we start taking the muffle from it, then you start to hear it come forward, and it really, really does affect you as an artist. Now, he's recorded in big studios. We've done some tracks for him that were recorded in really nice places. So can I get that? Can I take the muffle out of this? And this is really what we did. I actually just used a plugin. I'm not ashamed to say it. CLA is one of the engineers I'm saying. You'll see him mix something in 20 minutes. This is an incredible plugin. You see Ryan Tedder from One Republic talking about it. It's just like a really simple, quick-to-use plug. And this is what this did. So I did some Deverb, some Clarity Vox. I did a little gate. Had a little bit of this. Whatever that is, a little multi-band. And then a DS. It really, really grabbed it. I like this de-esser. It's a modern sounding de-esser. Very, very, it's got a sound. So this is what it sounds like now. Check it out.
Is it over yet? 'Cause I can still remember the days before all of it. Yeah, back before we sold ourselves for convenience, exchanging our freedom for all the phony hope they sell.
Let's hear it again with nothing.
Is it over yet? 'Cause I can still remember the days before all of it. Yeah, You're back before we sold ourselves. For convenience, exchanging our freedom for all the phony hope they sell.
So now you hear it dry up because of the clarity reverb, or the clarity thing that I put on it, clarity vocal. It took a lot of his reverb out, and then we have a bus that does the reverb with a nicer reverb, same concept. But when you send your stuff to mix, my job is not to change what you have. It's not. I want to see that rough, and I want to see what you have, and then make what you had better. So there's a lot more to it. This is just the prepping session. So this would be day one to me. Like, day one would be get it in the ballpark. And that's what we're doing right now. So we're just getting it in the ballpark. So, like, I'm still hearing some muffle.
Is it over yet? Cause I can still remember the days before all of it.
But we like a little bit of that vibe.
You're back before we sold ourselves. For convenience, exchanging our freedom for all the phony hope they sell.
So now much more energy, much more clarity, much more depth. Now you have an image. You have the drums sounding good. Let's go back to the beginning one more time. I know I'm doing a lot of back and forth here. Let's take it all off. Let's take off. And that's my one bus is off still. So this is everything off. Let me do that.
Is it over yet? Cause I can still remember the days before all of it.
Vocals too big for the drum kit there. So this is about perception.
You're back before we sold ourselves. For convenience, exchanging our freedom for all the phony hope they sell.
So now let's go to back everything in. And like I said, I didn't say it yet, but some of my hardware might have changed. I'm doing this video a little bit after the mix. Everything is in another session that was already printed. So let's go back to everything. You heard the original. Sorry about talking so much, but it just comes to mind, you know. And this is what we prepped.
Is it over yet? Cause I can still remember the days before all of it. You're back before we sold ourselves. For convenience, exchanging our freedom for all the phony hope they sell.
A little less on the snare. That's what mixing is. You don't want to overdo that snare to the point where now the vocalist sounds like he's buried. So that's what the mix is. Like, how much snare, how much snap, how much pop do I want? And I could tuck that back a touch, you know?
Is it over yet? Cause I can still remember the days before all of it.
That's sick, dude. Sounds awesome.
You're back before we sold ourselves. For convenience, exchanging our freedom for all the phony hope they sell.
Okay, so now you have that, and then we usually put some sort of need bus on it just to process the track.
Is it over yet? Cause I can still remember the days before all of it.
He sounds so much more in space, man. I love it.
You're back before we sold ourselves. For convenience, exchanging our freedom for all the phony hope they sell.
That's sick. So that's just a little part of it. Let me go back to my camera here. Let's see if I can go full screen. Well, I don't think I'm gonna be able to go full screen. Yeah, I am. Let me pull myself up here. So that was just the drums and just using the vocals, just the lead vocal. There's multiple vocals in this, but that's what we'll do pre-mix before we start mixing. So I'll go through, and you see all these plugins in this session, and I'll go through and I'll look at every track, and I'll do the best I can, something that I know is going to be permanent. It's not going to change something for the worse. It's just going to improve the overall stem or track that I'm working on. We can think of stems as groups. Like if you're sending something for stem mastering, that'd be like the drum bus, the bass bus, the guitar bus, or you can also think of it as a track. Just think of it as a track. So mixing is the process of taking everything you had, and let's get it to sound the best we possibly can. And I think where a professional studio can really help you is when they have hardware, when they have preamps, that line amplifiers that were designed to make that sound that much better in a really small increments over a bigger session. And so once we print this whole session, you'll notice clarity, definition, everything sounds spaced, things start to have a more professional, a much more professional vibe. and now that's what mixing is. And I wanted to do this video because I think a lot of people, especially if you just got into recording, myself included, dude, when I was a young dude, I didn't know that. I talked about Ice Cube in an interview when he had the movie producer send him something, and he was like, dude, this is horrible. Like, and he said, I was just so new, I didn't know what he was doing. Like, it was before the movie was edited, it was before the movie had all the polish and all the angles and everything refined, and that's really what we're talking about. That is the art of mixing, is taking what you have artistically and bringing it to a level where where everything is revealed and everything sounds good, and everything has depth, and there's, you don't put your ear pods in. It's not about just noise reduction or changing this. It's like, how do you create the listener to come into this art and go, wow, this is really great. And that's what mixing is. Mixing's not just sending it to a guy. It's not Walmart. You know, you don't send it over to a guy, he does his little thing, tweak, 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 and then all of a sudden you get your stuff back and it's like incredible. And I think that's the perception a lot of teachers, myself included, I'm guilty, that's what it is, and that's not what it is. You know, this is a profession. To mix a song correctly, I would say on a minimum a few days. There's artists that I work with, it's a few months. You know, they're in here, but they're producing as they're doing it. So yeah, mixing is not just like, oh yeah, send me something, I'll send you something back. The other thing that I would encourage before I get off this video is, I hope I can get some guys to talk to me, with me about this, but tracking. You know, learning how a preamp works, learning how this works or that works, just small things that you can do at your house, and will make such a big difference in getting tracks that then can be mixed. The sad reality and in the positive reality. So it's like a double-edged sword. It makes me change the way I mix. It might take a little bit longer to get the result of something you hear on the radio, but that's the business we're in. And whether you're a professional artist or you just started yesterday, most of us are starting from the same spot now. Whether you're Justin Bieber or you're, you know, the guy that just started, like I said, and we all learn, but the engineer now, I think, has become more of the wearing many hats, you know, to fix the track, to fix the recording, to edit, you know, the transients. We have so many tools available, and that's where you get the professional sound. So a lot of guys, I'll end with this, a lot of guys, you know, send something off for mastering, and maybe it's not ready for mastering. So if you're in the market, and also, dude, don't get around engineers that are there to give you a hard time and, oh, this is horrible and this is that. Don't worry about that. Like, a professional engineer is there to help. You know, it's like going into your doctor and you got, I don't want to get too graphic, but you got something really messed up and you don't want to talk about it. Just talk about it. You know what I mean? It's like, hey, I did this and did that. But that's what an engineer is to me. And it's like, how can we all work together to get the best we can? So my name's Doug Jenkins. You can send me something at dougjenkinsmastering@gmail.com, and we can talk, man. So hope you enjoyed the video. We'll see you.